One of the amazing things about mindfulness practice is the ability it gives you to deal more skillfully with stress and anxiety. So if you're practicing regularly, if you're meditating, you're doing mindfulness in daily life, if you're doing those things, when you encounter a situation that would normally stress you out or make you feel anxious, you might find that you're just naturally better able to sort of stay cool and calm and deal with the situation. That being said, though, there are some situations that are so nerve-wracking or so intense that you tend to get stressed out or anxious, even if you have a solid mindfulness practice. And so in those situations, there is a strategy you can use right there in that moment to help sort of calm you down so that you can navigate whatever it is that you're dealing with. But before I share that strategy, I think it's useful to first just understand a little bit about how anxiety works and stress. So when anxiety arises, there is a tendency that we all have to sort of flinch away from it, try not to feel it. And what meditation masters have understood for thousands of years, and modern psychology has corroborated, is that it is this very tendency to avoid the feeling of anxiety that actually fuels the anxiety. So we think it'll make us feel better, but in fact, it just makes the anxiety stronger and it makes it last longer. So what do you do instead? As counterintuitive as it may seem, the best thing you can do when anxiety arises, or stress, is to actually turn toward it and allow yourself to feel it fully. It takes a lot of the sting out of it and makes it less of a problem. So the most effective way that we're aware of to do that is to tune into the sensations that you feel in your body when anxiety arises or when stress arises. So these things manifest differently for different people, right? Some people feel anxiety as sort of a weight in their stomach or a hollowness in the pit of their stomach. Some people might feel a tightness in their chest or heat in their face. It's different for different people, but there is this bodily element to it. So what you do is you just tune into those sensations. Okay, what am I feeling right now? All right, I seem to be feeling sort of a hollowness in the stomach, or I seem to be feeling a tightness in the chest. And when you just tune into that dimension, it allows you to short circuit this natural response we have of flinching away that causes us all these problems. So I want to share a technique called the mindful pause that is just a sort of bite-sized 30-second practice that you can do in the very moment where you're feeling stressed out or anxious. And it's totally inconspicuous, and no one has to know that you're sort of meditating or whatever, and it works really well. It involves just 4 simple steps, so I'll share those steps with you, and then you can try it on your own. So step 1 is to take a slow, long breath in, and then a nice, slow, relaxing exhale. And all that does, all we're doing with that is we're just leveraging the pretty well-documented connection between that sort of long, slow breathing and relaxation, psychological relaxation. So that's step 1. Step 2, after you take that slow inhale, slow exhale, is turn your attention toward your body and just notice whatever sensations are present. So there might be a lot of sensations present. There might be hardly anything present. Maybe you just notice your feet on the floor or something like that. That's okay. It doesn't matter. However much or little is there, just take it in. Just notice whatever sensations are there. And just let the sensations be sensations. In other words, you don't have to evaluate them as good or bad. You don't have to tell stories about them. An itch is just an itch. A feeling of coolness is just a feeling of coolness, like that. Okay? And if there are sensations that seem particularly related to stress or anxiety, so for me, for instance, that would be sort of a hollowness in my stomach. If those sensations are there, those are especially good to pay attention to, because those are the types of sensations that we tend to flinch away from. And that's the habit that we're working on changing right now. Okay? So that's step 2, and it can be quick. It can be the span of 1 in-breath or the span of 1 out-breath. It can be longer if you like, but it can be that fast. All right? Now, step 3 after that is to just bring your attention to the sensation of the breath, the sensation of the air passing through your nostrils as you breathe, and just watch those sensations for a few moments. Just a way to ground ourselves a little more concretely in the present moment. Okay? And again, that can be fast. 1 in-breath or 1 out-breath, and then move on to step 4, the final step, which is just to carry on. In other words, just go about your day. Open your eyes if they were closed, which they didn't have to be. Stand up if you were sitting, which you didn't have to be. And then just go on to whatever's next in your day. But see if you can do so in an unhurried way. In other words, maybe don't bolt to your feet, right? Maybe you don't lunge for your phone. Just sort of move at a more leisurely pace and take with you some of this calm and quiet that you've cultivated. All right? So that's the mindful pause. It's really quick. 4 simple steps. I've timed it. It takes about 30 seconds. And it really works as sort of a spot remedy in the very moment you're feeling stress or anxiety. But I want to leave you with one last thing, which is that there's a trap that it's kind of easy to fall into with the mindful pause, which is you'll feel anxious, you'll do a mindful pause, and then you might be like, well, hey, what? These feelings are all still here. It didn't work, right? So the feelings are not going to go away. The mindful pause doesn't wipe feelings out of your body. It doesn't wipe thoughts out of your head. It changes your relationship to them so that they're less of a problem, right? So if you're trying to use the mindful pause to get rid of these feelings, you're just turning it into another avoidance strategy, right? So it's a subtle trap. Just remember, all it's doing is helping you in a structured way drop your resistance to it. Drop that avoidance, okay? So give it a try.